Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another speed build for the Disney save, and welcome to the first speed build we are doing for the new world for the Disney save, and that is of course going to be Sulani, which has been so highly requested since the beginning, and everybody has been talking about and asking, when are we doing Sulani, what's going to be in Sulani? I'm so excited for Sulani. I have not heard the end of it since I announced I was doing the save file, but I don't blame you guys, honestly, because it's such a unique world. It's one that we knew would include a lot of movies that I think are very much fan favorites for Disney fans across the board. One of my favorite Disney movies, or I would say my favorite movie, The Little Mermaid, was obviously going to be included here. This is the world that added mermaids, and I am so excited to finally make some mermaids and use that occult for the first time. Even though it's not like the most fleshed out occult, it'll still be fun to have the variety, and some of the households we're going to make will be completely filled with mermaids, and I think that that's so fun. This world is going to have The Little Mermaid, Lilo and Stitch, Moana of course, which is what we are working on today, Peter Pan, and there may be some other things that come as well. I don't want to completely go into it and ruin the surprise of everything right now, but I will say, if you're a patron, especially because you guys get to see what the map looks like of the layout of the original version of this world, and it always changes. Every world that I've ever done, the first version of the map never sticks, and this lot literally was the first lot I did, and it immediately required me to make a immediate change to the first version of this world, because the lot that I wanted to put this on was a different one, and it wasn't going to fit and it wasn't going to look good, so we had to change some things immediately. So we don't really know for sure what the clean cut list of all of the movies that are going to be here is going to be at this time, but I hope it's not too much of a disappointment. This world is a little bit smaller than we would want for so many of the great movies that could go here, and I think that some are going to get cut or missed and people are not going to be super pleased, but I hope that what I create is still going to hopefully live up to the expectations of everything that people were excited about for Sulani. And in today's video, we're creating the first residential for the world, and this is Montunui Village, and that is the residential, or that is the home of Moana. Obviously, this is not the whole village. This is not going to have a ton of villagers. The size of the lot did not cater to the idea of that, but we created some of the aspects of village life and the main structure from the movie that is either supposed to be like the royal home, or it's at least where I believe Moana and her family primarily stay. It's also, if you played Disney Dreamlight Valley, which came out and has been amazing, and I'm also playing, this is based after her version of the home that you end up getting when you unlock her character in the game. And Dreamlight Valley has been such a cool blessing in disguise. I knew that it's almost like somebody saw my save file and was like, let's actually make this real, where you can get all of the characters in the homes and let them all live in this little universe together, and you can customize everything kind of like Animal Crossing. It's basically what I'm doing, but in a different version of the game, with real, like licensed Disney art and all of the characters, and I've been playing it not as much as I would like. I wish I had a little bit more time for it. I'm hoping to have some more time for it down the line, but you get these little houses for most of the characters that you unlock in the game, and I did use Moana's house as reference when creating this for the main structure where her and her family are going to be staying. And her household will include herself, her mother and father, her grandmother. We will have Pua, who is going to be a dog, and there's going to be some references to Hei on the lot, even if that just means that I do a chicken coop that is disguised to not be as identical as the one that comes from Hemford on Bagley. I'm going to play a little bit around with that later, but it requires a lot of play testing. But that gives you an idea of who's going to be in the household. And then we'll have a couple of townies from Moana. We're going to have Maui. He will be a townie. If you wanted to have him be a part of the family, you could obviously just move him in, but he's a demigod and he's a traveler, and I think it just made more sense that he wouldn't be a part of the household. He's not like directly related to any of the characters, and he's not shown as staying with Moana at the end of the movie. He immediately leaves, so I thought it just made more sense if he was a townie, and then you could just move him into the household if you're really interested in him. Something that I integrate into the save file a few years ago back now is the idea of movie clubs. So basically every movie in the save has a leader. It's pretty much always who the main character would be. So for the Moana club in the save file, she would obviously be the club leader. And it has all of the main characters, if not all of the characters that are in the save file or available for that particular movie, in an effort so that if you needed to do something for storytelling, or you wanted all of the characters from that movie to show up, but some of them are townies or you can't find them very easily, you can just start a club gathering and then they'll all show up. So he will be a part of that club, and it makes it very easy if you wanted him to come around for one reason or another. But they'll know each other as well. In the final version of the save file that I upload, of course, they'll have some sort of relationship. So it would be easy to find him regardless, but all this to say, if you really wanted him a part of your house, you could just add him. But I'm just going to make him as a townie for now. And then we have another that I guess is kind of a surprise townie, and I don't really want to spoil, but the cast will be out in probably a week or two, so stay tuned for that one. This is going to be the only lot that is based after Moana for the save file. Unfortunately, the space of Sulani just doesn't create a lot of room for us to do too much with it. And honestly, I don't know really what else I would do for this movie. I think there's some things that I could do to like stretch the material if I had more space that I needed to fill, but since there's so many really cool things that could go in this world, I don't feel the need to do that. I think just doing the one residential and being able to use these really cool Polynesian inspired glider boats that came with Sulani that are so clearly based after Moana and, well, I guess in general just Polynesian culture, but I feel a lot of the things that come with this pack are very heavily inspired by Moana. I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the clothes in the pack look pretty much identical to some of the color and the versions of what's shown in the movie, and it makes it very easy to create them in casts. Lucky for me, because some of the characters we've had in the past, much more difficult, but I'm glad to have something a little bit easier and be able to use some of those pieces from this pack that I obviously have not been able to use for any of the other characters because it just didn't quite fit. But yeah, this will be the only lot for this movie, and she will be a part of the Disney Princesses Club. She is going to be a teen. Merida was also a teen, so I think it makes sense to add another Disney princess that is in the teen category because we haven't always been able to do that. A lot of them are young adults or adults, even though some of their ages from their movies would actually make them a teen. The way that they act and like the storyline that they follow, it doesn't really make sense to keep them as a teen. So some of them have been aged up, I believe, like I was gonna say Belle, but I think she's actually a little bit older. But Snow White comes to mind. I don't believe I made her a teen. I think it's more appropriate for her storyline that she's at least a young adult, even though in her movie I believe she's very young. But for some of these modern Disney movies that include princesses that have come out where they're depicted to be a little bit younger, we can actually keep them a teen, especially if their storyline does not really involve any type of romance, which Moana's doesn't really, so, or at all. Her creatism and her family include in the same video should be coming out next, I think, as well as the townie videos following after that, and then we'll just move into another movie for the save file. There's so many really cool things coming down the line and speed builds that I don't think some of you are expecting, and then there's some that are definitely expected. Lots of mermaids, some aliens, some different things, some cool things for this world. It's going to have a lot of variety. Again, this is basically just like a section of Montunui Village. It's basically, I would say, what's most immediately around their main house, and I'm going to be calling it Montunui Village, but it's not actually the entire village. If we did have the space to make something like that here, and there are larger lots in this world, but they're being saved for very, very large builds, so I just had to compromise a little bit on the spacing here and basically just do Moana's home and what I believe would be immediately outside of it. Now, there's some things that I've personally added and some little touches here and there that are more shout outs to the movie than they are actual representations from what is being shown in like the immediate surrounding area of this structure in the movie. And things just have to be a little bit more jam-packed. And I'm also trying to use a lot of the items from this pack, especially if I think that I'm not going to be able to use them again. So we have these boats that come with this pack, and I could see them being used for maybe some other builds or having them placed randomly throughout, but this is obviously the big main build where these items are going to be in play, and it makes sense that these characters would be using them and be heavily skilled in them. So I wanted to have a few of them on the lot, and that's why it was important that we had had some kind of water coming up into the slot. One of the big things with planning, and it's probably going to become more of a problem down the line, I planned this world out as I typically do with every world, and that's basically, here's my dream version of what this world would look like if things didn't matter, like lot sizing and little different intricacies, which for Sulani, one of the intricacies is how much of each lot is water versus land, or what does the surrounding look like is usually a big problem when it comes to actually creating something. Like, I'll want something to go in one location, and then I go and I load into the lot and I look at what's actually around it, and it doesn't really make sense to put that item there if I don't have to, or if I can change it out with something else. So this lot was originally going to be completely something else from a different movie, but the lot that this village was supposed to go onto, I loaded in, and it was 99% water. And obviously there's an aspect to Moana where they have like a fear of the water, or they try to avoid the water. They don't leave the reef. There's that like dynamic to the movie. So I didn't want to create the structure on top of the water, because they're not shown as being on top of the water. And I think that if you wanted to like play the story out correctly, then there has to be some room that's actually on land. But we did have to have the water at least a little bit because of the boats. So I had to put this lot here. It was like ultimately decided that no other lot actually made sense except for this one specifically. So things had to get moved around, and it might actually mean that a different lot gets added completely to Sulani that was originally never going to make it. So everything happens for a reason. Things change all the time with the save file, and ultimately it's going to end up being a good thing. Now, since we have a little bit of time in today's video, I want to give you guys a tiny bit of an update as to why I've been gone, why videos have been a little bit more sporadic, things that have been going on in my life that just have meant that I do not have as much time for the save file as I wanted. And I want to reassure you all, as I try to, that I am still working on it. It's not something that I'm like giving up on. I just don't have the time the way that I used to. I used to be a full-time content creator and have all the time in the world, and would stay home and didn't have anything to worry about except waking up, making a video, making 3 videos. Streaming was something that I was able to do, and it just was a different world when I first created the save file. I was just in a different place in life, and so many things have happened to me over the past couple of years, and the pandemic has had a lot to do, I think, with it. Or now that I'm like looking back on it, I think that it's contributed and affected me the way that a lot of people have been affected and maybe don't realize until later, like myself. But I don't have as much time anymore. I work full time, and I come home and I'm just so tired, and I don't always have the energy to do this. And then like new games come out and I want to play, like Dreamlight Valley came out and I was so excited, and I don't have time for it. And then I feel guilty when I do play it because I could be working on the save file, and I feel like this never ending, like that I'm just letting everybody down, because I used to be able to pump out content at this rate and I can't do it anymore, and I feel so guilty for it sometimes that it's like debilitating, where I just don't work on the save, or I do work on the save but I'm almost like quieter about it. I don't put a video out, or I wait a little while, or maybe I film but I don't have time to edit the video for a good length of time, and then they stack up, and I just don't want it to be that way. I want it to be a little bit more casual and just not let it weigh on me so mentally anymore, because it's not doing the save that's like the problem. It's just creating the videos that go along with it sometimes, and it's finding the time and just not being tired and having the time to put my heart into it the way that I want to, and not rush anything and not do anything that I don't want to create, because then it just comes out like garbage and it's not representative of things that I like want to put on the internet and have out there for the rest of forever. But all that to say, I just work a lot more than I used to, and I'm tired and I just don't have the time to do it the way that I once did. On top of that, I was at Disney World a few months ago for a while. I was there for like 2 weeks, and I'll talk about all that in another video because that's a whole other thing. But a lot of my time was just spent planning that trip and preparing and clothes and trying to get some kind of content out while I was gone, and failing miserably and working so that I could afford this trip. But that was really fun, and I'll talk about it more in a future video. I'm also I have a really big life update that I have shared on Patreon, but I haven't shared openly across the internet, and I'm still even a little bit nervous to do so. But I recently got engaged, and I am so over the moon and excited and in love. And my fiance, I've spoken about him quite a bit here on my channel, and he's a part of my Discords. His name is Ryan, and we're very excited, and we have a lot to do. Ryan proposed in the beginning of September, and some of you may know, but he is from the UK. So we have had a long distance relationship for the better part of 2 years now. And that takes up a ton of my time as well, because, you know, maintaining relationships in real life is hard as it is, but maintaining a relationship that is so important across an ocean and across a time zone is even more difficult than just like a standard, not to take anything away from like any type of long distance, it's hard. But when you add a time zone into it and life and schedules, and I work opposite times that he does, when I get home, I just want my 2 hours with him, and I can't always work on the save because it means the difference between having that time with him, and it's hard, right? It's a very, very hard balance. But he proposed in September. We are very excited. I am very excited. And ultimately what it means is that we had a really big decision to make, which was who's moving where, because we can't keep doing this. We can't be engaged or married and living in one country or the other. We have to pick. And it was kind of an easy decision, but it's not, right? Because this is a really big choice, and it's going to require a lot of legal things and a lot of paperwork and time, and it's not easy, and there's a lot of things that are going to be different for me and for him. But ultimately we've decided that it makes more sense if I move to the UK, and I'm more excited to move to the UK. I think I'm gonna thrive in the UK, and he probably, I don't think he would like living in the US very much. I don't think anybody likes living in the US very much these days. Maybe you do, but I'm not one of those people. So happy to go in a lot of senses, but there's so many little intricacies that you cannot even imagine to try to even like make this possible, and I have to focus on it. You know, it's taken over my life a little bit. It has to, and it's going to continue to until I'm officially like a resident there, until we're officially grounded. But for the beginning part of next year, I'm going to be in the UK for a very good length of time. And then immediately following that, I'll end up back in the States with my family for a little while we wait on paperwork to come back. And then I will be back in the UK, hopefully permanently. But there's also a length of time where between waiting and moving and stuff, I may have more time to myself in general than I used to. That being said, I'm also moving and going to be bouncing around and going from country to country. So I don't know what my setup is going to look like. I don't know how able I'm going to be to work on the save. And I'm hoping that I can, no matter where I am, come up with some way to continue working on the save. But I'll keep you guys posted if there's any major changes, or if I know for like a certain length of time I'm not going to be able to do anything, just so no one's worried about me in general, because you guys are very sweet and you ask and you're like, where have you been? Are you okay? I'm okay. I just got a lot going on. So I will keep you guys updated if it means that there's going to be a lull in content, or even in terms of like Patreon content, because even when I don't post a YouTube video for a long time, I usually am posting on Patreon still, and it's kind of my way of encouraging, you know, there's still some sort of progress going on. It's just not as quick as I would like. But if there's going to be any changes where I'm not able to do anything for a good length of time, I will let you guys know. Community tab, Discords, or just on Patreon. Those will be my main points of contact. Maybe on Twitter as well a little bit here, but Twitter's been weird recently, so who knows how that's even gonna go. And yeah, that's just a lot, and it means that I just am busy all the time, and I always got something going on. And when I have free time, I just want to maybe spend an hour with my fiance, you know? So I'm still working on the balance of all those things, but while moving, I think there will be periods of time once I'm settled that I have a good amount of time to work on the save file, and I am very much looking forward to that time. And I'm hoping I can use it to the best of my ability and really like get through some of these worlds, because they keep adding more and more of them. And not that I'm upset about it, but I'm like looking at it like it's work, you know, there's more stuff to come down the line, and every time they add a world, I am as excited as I am a little bit nervous. Like, oh man, is this the last one? Are they going to do another world? Because how many more are they going to add? How many more do I have to come up with ideas for? But it's all good at the end of the day. It'll be exciting. And so yeah, I'm moving at the beginning part of the new year, kind of around February. I am also going to Disneyland Paris next year. I am so excited to go. I'm going to take so many pictures of the castle and have some really great references for Sleeping Beauty's castle. I'm excited to go to Paris in general, but I won't really be there to like explore Paris. I'm just going to Disneyland, so I will probably come back at a later point in time for actually like to explore Paris, because it's two totally separate things. But as always, I will try my best to keep you guys posted, and if you have any questions about all the stuff that's been going on, definitely ask. I will try my best in the comments to give a rundown, and there's so much more I could say, but I just wanted to give like a general synopsis and also a timeline so you guys can kind of expect what's going on. And one of the things that's been just very truly kind in my absences of posting on YouTube is the mass amounts of people that have tried to check in with me and left comments and said, I hope you're okay, or I'm waiting for the next video, I can't wait, things like that. And it's very kind that you guys have cared and you guys enjoy this save file so much, and that your heart is into it as much as mine is. So I want people to be assured that I'm still here. I'm just a little bit more busy. And to close out today's video real quick, for the inside of the residence here, I felt like it was important to keep it all obviously very heavy on the Sulani furniture. I have decorated this space a lot more than what is shown in the movies, and I think that's maybe the one thing that it's just a bit different. But you could obviously remove some of the decor. I don't like creating these really big empty houses, even though that might be more accurate to the movie. I just felt like it really killed the space and the vibes. So I added more plants, more things here and there than really what's shown. And I felt like it was important to keep the space very open and flowy and use more banisters and columns and open doorways with drapery instead of doing doors for this type of a household. So Moana's got her own little tucked in corner. She actually has her own private bathroom. It's more so for functionality purposes. I believe there's multiple bathrooms in this household that really would not be shown in the movie at all, obviously. But I think realistically, they probably didn't even have an internal bathroom, so I've added that just for functionality. The grandmother has her own little corner on the other side, and then the parents have more of a bigger bedroom, and then there is the central point of the home where it's all kind of in one dining, living room, and kitchen all together, where I think they would probably spend 99% of their time. And that is going to be the end of today's video. If you would like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, the link will be in my description box down below or at the end of the video. It gets you early access into my private Discord and is the most direct way to support the save file. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will speak to you all in the next one.